Today we're going to switch it up a little bit, huh? Is that a good?
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that a pretty good? Is that a pretty good fun? That's a pretty good pun. We're going to talk about electrical devices inside of the home and some of the innovations and technologies that are beginning to significantly change the way we think about wiring in a home, switches, automation, smart home installations, because it's been around for a long time, but we've struggled to kind of push it down into kind of the entry-level homes and maybe the first move-up type homes. That's beginning to change, and you're going to hear about some of that today. So we're going to begin here with session number 2 on switches, outlets, and innovation. Welcome to our panel, Nathan Diehl, the head of product for Deako. And then we have John Foshe, who is with Buffington Homes of Arkansas. And I think, was it your president was on the panel last night in the keynote. So we heard a lot about Buffington Homes. I was very impressed about the idea that you have somebody that's some full-time jobs in charge of kind of process improvement in your company. Really amazing to see builders actually doing that. And then we have James Keirstead. Keirstead, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. With Levven, and you're going to come and you're going to talk also about your products. He's another one of our major presenters. And then at the very end of the table, we've got Greg Rex, who's VP of Construction for Diehl Homes. So we got, again, same kind of format. In this case, we got 2 subject matter experts. We're going to give the content, and 2 builders that are kind of going to reflect on all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to kind of tee this up a little bit, and this is something I talk about a lot when we talk about electrical systems in homes, and that is that our last pivot in electrical systems of any substance was really about in the 1960s. We haven't done a lot with respect to homes. You know, you look at about what happened in the 1950s and 60s, there was a proliferation of high current electrical appliances. Suddenly we had electric mixers and electric ovens. We had all these things in the kitchen. And what we found out is we didn't have any plugs in the kitchen back then. There was like, one outlet. It was a screw-in circuit breaker down in the basement, a little fuse, type thing down in the basement. It was constantly blowing. People were complaining. So builders got on the bandwagon and said, we should put more plugs in. That would be a really, really good idea. And maybe we'll even put them on separate, runs down to these little screw-in fuses. And a little further on, we came up with the thermoelectric circuit breaker, and that was a huge transition for our industry. And really since then, not much has really happened to the home. We've just added kind of more plugs, more runs, more breakers, more power, but it's all been in this kind of same architecture that we've had. So basically the thermoelectric circuit breaker, more circuits, more power, has kind of dominated our world. The challenge is that what we do in a home today with electricity has changed dramatically. Today, you even saw this yesterday with GAF, how they're using the roof as a solar generating appliance on the home. We have storage systems, we're doing energy management, we got smart audio, we've got safety and security through the home, we got lighting control, music distribution, we have all these things going on in the home, all electrical. And it's really made our old architecture kind of archaic and out of date. Consumers are demanding it, and they demand it a lot more from new homes than they do used homes. They assume that new homes are going to be better wired, they're going to be smarter, they're going to have these capabilities. That's why they are actually looking at the new home market. So they're coming in presupposing that the new home is going to be much better than the used home for sale down the street. It's going to have more automation, more lighting control, more music distribution. It's going to have all these cool new hip, electronic features that they expect in a home. And they expect new homes that's going to be a standard option. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily install them at that rate of the customer expectation. So we've got to figure out how to kind of fill that gap. Then percentage of buyers looking for energy efficiency with these things, obviously, again, outpaces with new homes over used homes. So we're kind of in a transition now to where power management really is becoming a backbone of this kind of new electrical system. It's not just about distributing power and having on and off switches, but it's about figuring out how we're going to do energy production, how we're going to do energy storage, how we're going to manage energy and market arbitrage, how we're going to do source selection, how we're going to even manage off of smart circuit breakers the load and divide the load, because maybe we don't have a 50 amp service and we have 80 amps of demand in the homes, but we can actually figure out how to share that kind of load in the home. We've got load balancing, ubiquitous safety, electrification of appliances, and then you add all of the smart home technology to it. So it's kind of a whole new frontier out there. So we're going to hear about two leaders in that frontier and their approach to this, not to all of this, because this is a big space, obviously. But we're going to hear from them, and we're going to start with you, Deako. So you can introduce yourself to the audience. I know you have an introduction slide here momentarily.
Welcome everybody. Thanks, Tim. So today I'll be talking about Deako's modular lighting platform. So we'll learn a little bit about Deako's modular system. But first, who am I? So I'm Nathan Diehl. I run product and customer experience at Deako. I've been doing it for the past 7 years. It was exciting because I joined the business around its third year and back when we were in about 100 or so homes, and now we've scaled up to about 300,000 homes. So my day-to-day job is building a product roadmap and executing on that to be able to deliver products for this audience in particular, and then also find ways to build products that are compelling to those homeowners after they move into the house and things they want to continue to buy as they live in the house. Before this, I was doing some manufacturing automation software, doing global e-commerce, things like that. But a long, long time ago, I was a low voltage electrician serving the builder community, pulling wire, drilling holes, and installing a lot of what are today my competitors' products. And back then, I just thought, why the hell does it take a college-educated kid with a laptop to be able to install a lighting control system? And why the hell does it cost $60,000? That just didn't make sense to me back then. I went on, did something else with my life, and then I kind of came to Deako and I realized, oh, this is the way out. This is the way to change that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about market trends, and I think this is important. Tim talked a little bit about consumer expectations. I'm going to look at some data that's specific from the builder world. And what this chart is looking and asking builders, says, among all these technologies, which ones have you implemented and which ones are you planning on implementing? Highlighted in green here is the lighting control systems. And you can see here in 2023, 3/4 of builders were already putting some form of lighting control solution into their homes, but they're expecting by next year to be able to almost be at 100%. And if you kind of merge that with smart LED lighting, sometimes those categories need a little bit of disambiguation. But you can see that the builders are already expecting to put this in because they know that the buyers are expecting this inside of their house. The nice thing is there's some monetization opportunity with that. It's not just putting it in and adding cost. That's no fun, right? Like just to keep adding cost to your base home, you have to find a way to be able to monetize that so that it's compelling and you feel the value of that. Similar audience for this stat. This was asked of the same set of builders, which technologies are you associating revenue growth with? And you can see here, 99% of builders are seeing a positive revenue uplift from lighting control systems. That's nearly 100%. And with 57 or almost 60% of those builders seeing a strong revenue association with lighting control. And that's really important as we look at the consumer expectation as that evolves and the ability to monetize that. You can't just be living in a world with ever increasing cost. You have to find ways to be able to activate that. All right, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Deako and how we approach the market, how we're different than others out there. First, with the election last night, I was rethinking this, but didn't have the time to change this to red. But Deako's colors are blue. I think we could have thought that through for today, but
it's green blue.
It's green blue.
It's green blue.
It's the Deako teal blue. But in that last 9 years, we've shipped over 30 million products. 1 in 6 houses are being trimmed out with Deako switches, and that's, again, I already said the stat of 300,000 houses. So it's important at Deako that we develop a business that scales because we understand the complexity of being able to hit the market demand for builders. You can't just do things once or 10 times. You have to be able to do things thousands or 100,000s of times. Now, doing that in manufacturing and operations is one thing, but keeping everybody happy is another. And we're really proud that we have a 97% CSAT score. And that's our customer service team who is working with you, the builders, with electricians, with technicians, integrators, and homeowners. So this score is a blend from all those different channels. Also in this day and age, it's important to be resilient and be flexible. The global economy is complicated. Tariffs, supply chain, all of these things can have a dramatic effect on your build schedules, on homeowner happiness, on the your ability to leverage your cash and use that well when you're building a house. So we've deployed manufacturing to 4 different countries. To date, we've never stocked out of products ever. I mean, that's something that we're exceptionally proud of. I know our operations team's exceptionally proud of. Finally, there's a lot of people at Deako out in the field. Almost half of our company is individuals out in the field that are serving you guys, making sure that there is strong communication whenever problems arise, proactive process development so that we can continuously improve and address any challenges. And of course, we have a whole bunch of patents because we're the first one to market with this modular lighting system. This is a little bit of an anatomy lesson here. That blue box over there
is the blue box.
Is the blue box. So that one doesn't change. That's really important to know with Deako is the way that you wire the house doesn't need to change. That same standard junction box, the same wiring, the same rough end, the same crew that's doing that gets to do this. They don't have to wire the house any differently. The Deako backplate, that's really the innovation, the key innovation of Deako that allows anybody to be able to install one of our products afterwards. So this is kind of a safety wall between the electrical and the homeowner or the occupant. There's no way to come into contact with electrical contacts. In fact, it's safer than an outlet, even a tamper-resistant outlet. It has ways of getting into it. This is a lot more complicated to be able to expose those contacts. There's a Deako switch. In this case, this is just the simple rocker switch. You'll see in a second, we have a whole variety of different products out there, but these come shipping either in the switch or you can buy the backplates by themselves. And then finally, our kind of cosmetic cover plate with our signature industrial design there. A quick view of what our products look like. On the left, we have the smart connected switches. That's kind of relevant to the smart home trends that we're talking about today. We have a smart switch, smart dimmer, smart plug. These have all of the standard IoT smart home features that you expect, that your homeowners expect. Works with Alarm.com, with Alexa, Google, Control4, Samsung, a whole litany of different integrations are available with these products. And of course, the Deako app as well. But it's not just about smart products to make this cost effective and make this scalable and to allow you guys to be compliant in all the different regions you're building. We have a whole line of simple or non-connected switches as well. So here in California, you guys are putting in a lot of simple motions, simple astronomical timers, and simple dimmers because of code. We're seeing those codes propagate across the country where you need to be able to have cost-effective ways of being able to get your occupancy cert. You don't need to slow down your build timeline, and now you're also not locking yourself into just what the code says. So there must be some challenges, right, or everybody would be doing it. And that's, we're here to kind of talk about some of those. I want to kind of step back though and think about some of those stats. I really don't think the question is, do you want it? We saw earlier the consumer expectations are on the rise, that interest in the smart home technology and lighting control is ever present, increasing.
Specifically for new homes.
Yeah, specifically for new homes.
The bar's higher for us. If you're selling your used home, they go, yeah, it's a used home, it's an old home. You don't get that get out of jail free card, right? You're building the new home, right? You know what it's like. Exactly. You're supposed to be building, everything that's available to them today. And I think that's the challenge, is our bar's higher.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really don't think do you want it? Is it worth it? And that's really what you've come to decide is it worth it? And that's let's think about that question a little bit more deeply. And on what's the barrier to it? Well, change is overwhelming. Whether you're changing the wrap on your house, you're changing your ERP system, it's a bastard. You have to communicate to a lot of different people, teach them to do something different. And whenever you look at a new technology and looking at Deako here specifically, I think framing it in the context of what's the same and then what's new here. So let's quickly look at that. So at Deako here, what's the same? Well, how the home is wired, that's not changing. Who wires your house? That doesn't need to change unless you want to change it. Who you pay to wire that house? Again, that doesn't change. Now, this next one I think is really critical as people are considering options. Your build timeline. Often whenever you consider adding a option that requires specialized labor,
Like an integrator,
you're really messing with your build time. And some of you guys, and a lot of you guys, that means you're extending your capital even longer while you're waiting for your home to close so that you can actually recognize that revenue and that profit that you see. So by eliminating the requirement of specialized labor to install these devices, you're able to maintain your build timelines, which I really see as critical for this industry. And then finally, because anybody can install it, your integrators, your security dealers, your trade partners, they don't need to change either. Now that's 5 things that stay the same. Now over here, there's only 2 things that are different. One, you're going to be setting a new standard. You're going to be communicating to your employees that we're upgrading to a new modular platform with some flexibility and some improvements. You're going to be communicating to your market that we're leveling up. We're making a new offer that gives options and flexibility. And then second is you're opening yourself up to new monetization opportunities. We saw that builders are able to recognize additional revenue by just installing this category. But with Deako in particular, you have 2 ways of monetizing this. There's the traditional way of selling upgrades, increasing the sell price of the house, doing it the same old way. But I encourage you guys, whenever you have a chance to talk to the Deako sales team, to talk about post-close, after the homeowner moves in, monetization opportunities for you guys as well. So that's something that's really unique to us in that modular approach, because again, we don't have to call expensive people back out there to do it. One of the next things I hear is, I'm special, my situation is unique and different. And I'm sorry to tell you, you kind of really only fall into 3 buckets in our world. I'm partnering with a security dealer, I'm partnering with a custom integrator, or I don't want one of those. I'm just gonna want my homeowners to be able to figure that out. So just to let you know, a few other builders have figured this out already. Here's just a couple list of builders that have partnered with Deako or installing Deako across their houses. These guys have figured out that whether it's their custom integrator, their security dealer, or the homeowners themselves, there's a path to being able to raise expectations and to monetize this category. And again, it's simple because anybody can install the product: security dealers, custom integrators, homeowners, and of course electricians. I didn't even bother to put them on here because we all know that they're capable of doing this. The last one I hear is the upfront commitment is expensive and complicated. And this one I really want to dig into, because that's the crux of the decisions. This doesn't feel like I'm getting enough value out of it. And this is complicated. Why don't I understand this? Why can't this be simpler? Well, it's only expensive because you aren't realizing all the value. And it's only complicated because you're trying to do too much at once. This is like classic overcommitment. Like, find a way to simplify your commitment, and there's an easy fix for that. Set your standard and then let the homeowners choose the rest. Pick what's right for your market, whether that's 7 smart devices inside the house, 20, 5.
It could be none.
It could be none. You could pick. Well, we can see
in a way it's like pre-wiring, right? You could say, look, this is all rocker switches inside this house, right? But it's future-proofed.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if that's really your market and you don't want to invest anything, you could do that.
Yeah. What we're seeing is, like, in the most accessible house, the first-time home buyer market, we're seeing about 1 device absolutely standard, and we're seeing about 5 devices half the time. So first-time home buyer, the $300,000 home mark, even they're starting to expect this stuff as some standard to differentiate.
So your builders are putting a token in to show what's possible, but not making an investment to make it a reality.
Yeah, exactly.
The homeowner has to do that.
So once you right size it, you'll start to feel that value, because you're like, I'm not spending more than I wanted to spend. I'm just meeting my buyer's expectations. I'm meeting my market's expectations. And now I'm not shackling my homeowners to the lack of choice. The homeowners who want it can add more on top of that. So that's the easy fix at the end of this, is just pick what's right for you guys.
All right, well, I got a couple of questions for you already. The first thing you just said, what changes, and you kind of went through, well, the big thing is you got to communicate this value to the customers, right? Because you're selling something very different, something that they probably have never seen before, they've not experienced before. How do you help builders tell that story?
There's a lot of ways. I mean, one of the important things is at the time of contract sign and all of that, we're really clear on expectations of this is what the base home system is going to look like. This is what you're going to get. This is how you upgrade to a smart. Here's what you've chosen as standard. And we create marketing collateral to help them communicate that to their purchasing managers, to their sales team, to everybody inside of the construction crew. We also partner with the electricians to make sure that the supply chains are connected, that their distributors have.
Yeah, I'm talking about the consumers though, right?
Oh, okay.
Joe consumer walks in, they've never seen one of these things. They don't know anything about this, right? Do you have little demo systems that you can put in design centers, right? Which actually shows, look, here's how easy your home's gonna be, right? You take this thing out, you put this thing in, we can change, we got 19 different products, you can plug them all in. Is it like a hands-on museum? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So in fact, I think we might have some of the stuff at the booth today. So you can even stop by and see what's possible to be able to put into your own design center. Obviously, these things go into the walls, and we have placards and stickers and things like that to be able to encourage to be able to do that. We'll train the design center staff to be able to change these things out. But it is so simple that anybody can do it. That's what's one of the beauties of it. I have a video of my little daughter at 2 years old changing a light switch out for the first time. But yes, we do make those things available for.
So one more question for you before I get the builders to kind of opine on some of their expectations. What's the biggest thing that has surprised you about consumer selection or adoption? Right, you're in 300,000 homes. So you must have seen a lot of consumer behavior and activity. What surprised you about consumer adoption and behavior?
Yeah, there's not a strong correlation to the value of the home and the level of smart that they choose to go with. We'll see $1 million houses where people keep it simple, and then we'll see $300,000 where people will spec out their entire house. There's a lot of individualism in in the home buyers. And because of the flexibility and the accessibility of it, we're seeing, it's like non-correlative adoption. So to me, that's exciting, is that there's a whole bunch of people who kind of wanted this stuff that you wouldn't have typically from a marketing demographics pinned them for.
Roger, John?
I just want to hit on, I think, what you were kind of talking about. The placards and everything are nice, but it's passive. Right. You're not getting, unless you get your sales team, your design center team, and you have a cool demo. Mm-hmm. People don't remember when they walk through the house. They're looking at the countertop. They don't remember that placard. And I've actually trailed on some, secret shopper stuff and watched people interact with the placards. And usually it's like, the dad goes over, oh, this is cool, and he messes with it for a couple of minutes. But then the wife calls him, look at the countertop.
Who's not the decision maker, exactly. So it doesn't matter.
He says, oh, honey, come look at the countertop. And then you're pulled away from that. So it's important to teach, to train your sales staff. Make it, if you want to sell it, you got to sell it. You can't just passively try to sell it. So
now, do you have like interactive displays in your design center so you can actually, try it out? Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. Hands-on, experiential would be. Seems to me would be.
And then our sales staff, get excited. We train them to get them excited about this new stuff, and then I want to show you this, instead of so.
Very cool.
One of the things I think that holds our company back in Oklahoma, we are kind of the last frontier on adapting things there.
Other than your football team?
Other than, yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that that's
They're not doing well this year, obviously. But Oklahomans don't know this product really well. I noticed Home Creations up there is in our market and is using it, but we don't have buyers walking in our door looking for this.
Right.
I walked the competition home, and a lot of our competitors have dumbed down their houses to meet affordability. We haven't done that. We're still a step up from that, but they've pulled out all the lighting out of their houses, and we've left nice lights in our homes. And when I walk theirs and I walk our homes, that's the difference I see. Oh, there's nice lights in here, and it makes the home feel roomier. Our buyers have not walked in the door and ever asked for this product. I don't think most of them are really super aware of the product.
Mm-hmm. What a great opportunity in a way for you to sit here and say, look, we can prepare your home for the future but don't necessarily install all the costs because of your market conditions of who you compete against, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually kind of a neat feature. It says, look, we built a home for you to be future-proof, and you can do whatever you need to and want to and demonstrate that without having to have the expense of actually putting automation in the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a neat.
And I am excited about the product. You know, we have tested it a few times, and we currently have a guy with it in his home, and he loves it. So it's kind of a game of trade-offs for our buyers. Like,
so
you know,
I'm gonna veer off on a little tangent here for a minute. There's a model for customer satisfaction called the Kano model, and there's 3 reactions to any product. There's dissatisfiers, the things that you do with the product that you hate and make you angry about the product. You know, so if it's an automobile, it breaks down, it doesn't start, it's not reliable. Man, yeah, there's nothing good about it. And by the way, if you make a car that's 100% reliable, you're not actually thrilled about the car, you're just not mad at it, right? You know, so the only thing those things can do is cause problems. And then there are the things that are expected. Well, you know, what's the fuel economy of a car, and what's the performance of a car? The better fuel economy you get, you know, the better it is. The more performance you get, the better it is. There's things you expect. And those kind of go on a linear scale. The more you give them, the better it is. The magic is in the exciters. And the exciters are things that they didn't expect in the product, but you gave them anyway. And yesterday, I heard a builder, when we were talking about solar, going, we don't put solar in a house because we don't have people asking for it. Think about what you're actually saying from a marketing perspective. You only build product to deal with the detractors and the satisfiers, and you don't add anything into the product to be an exciter. That's a problem. That's a problem in your market position and your customer acceptance. You have to sprinkle some exciters into your product. And that goes across all product categories. And I think we need to think about all this of how do we do that, but how do we do it economically? You know, if I sat here and said, I got a $50,000 home control system here, we're gonna go put in your home. You're going, Tim, you don't know my market. There's no way we're putting that in. I can't compete in my market for that. So how do we find ways of putting excitement in the product without the cost? And I think that's really some of the magic of how you make it affordable. So there might be an opportunity there for us all of us to think about, what do we do for that excitement curve and the unexpected? What are the sprinkles that we add to our products to differentiate ourselves in the market? You're gonna take it away now?
Yeah, so this is a little embarrassing. I gave him the wrong presentation, so I have no idea what we're gonna talk about here.
That's just me in my intro slide to you. So you're actually
scared the living daylights
No, it's all there. That's just me. That's just me introducing you.
Okay,
There
here
you
we
go.
go.
It's the right presentation. Was that a fun trick?
Heartbeat, come down.
That's just so much fun for a moderator to want somebody over there just
Wow, yeah.
Oh
my goodness.
Presentation.
Yeah. Hey, so first of all, I'm not going to be as eloquent as Nathan. I don't do this very often. So bear with me. I have some notes with me to make sure that I don't forget what I'm wanting to share with you. I'm going to take the journey a little bit differently. Let me start off with before Levven. I was actually one of the founders of Canada, what became Canada's largest hot tub manufacturer. In fact, that's how I ended up manufacturing electronics. I bought this company as a vertical integration play so that I could make our own controls and make us unique. And naturally, being in the hot tub business, we crossed paths with many, many builders along the way and established lots of relationships. One of those relationships was with a gentleman called Reza Nasseri. He's the owner of Landmark Homes, which is a builder in our city, Edmonton, Alberta. And Reza is very interested in innovation. He is a classic early adopter and had a very open mind about building technologies and what they could actually do for his business. In fact, when I met him, he was already, this was back in 2012, and he was already manufacturing 85% of his walls in a robotic factory. Reza and I struck up a friendship, and we would often meet for coffee and chat and exchange ideas about how technology might actually solve some of the problems that the building industry had. And at one of these coffee chats, we had a conversation that changed the course of my company. We were talking about smart home products. I was confused about the pace of adoption because in the hot tub industry, we developed smart controls into hot tubs and were connected to the internet 8 or 9 years before then already. Yet in the building industry, it seemed like it was stuck in the early adopter phase, especially when we talk about the production builder, not so much the custom.
You even have a time machine, right?
Yeah.
Hot tub time machine.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my God, you guys are like way ahead of things here.
So I asked him, what's up? Why is that? And Reza was really quick. He didn't even hesitate. He said, James, I'll tell you exactly what the holdup is. So you can tell me if this resonates with you as builders. First, there's cost. Adding smart home stuff adds more cost. In fact, I remember when I was looking at smart homes, it really looked like it was only available to the rich. So obviously, I was in agreement with Reza. And then secondly, he said, compatibility. There are a few players making smart home products in my team, and our target customer realizes that these things just don't seem to play nice together, and I can't bear the cost of supporting that. He was right on that point too. Standards and platforms were still developing when him and I first started talking about this. I mean, it was like buying a Blu-ray disc and owning a DVD player, or some of you might even remember VHS versus Betamax, right? And why did that happen? Well, those new technologies were first released and everyone was trying to build proprietary systems, A, to deliver the outcome they were hoping for, but B, to standardize something in the system so that they could be the dominant player in the market. And it really had taken quite some time for that to start happening, for that to settle in. Reza, at this point, was on quite a tear, and he said, the third point is, this isn't a simple change for my team. The complexity of changing our planning, procurement, installation, configuration, it's actually a serious barrier for us. And not to mention, we have to communicate to the customer, what is this stuff? And then finally, what's the value? If I put in a smart home product today, I'd be doing it because of marketing value or my own curiosity, not really because home buyers are asking for it or demanding it, or my competitors are really pushing it. Like you just said, right? No one's asking. And that's still pretty common, although it's changing. So he said, James, the reason smart home products don't work in new homes is because they're inherently retrofit in nature. So what I mean by that is they don't seamlessly integrate with your build process. They're like add-ons. They built them and designed them to be of value to the end homeowner without considering the impact it had all the way along in the build cycle. Let me give you an example. Let's look at one of the more popular smart home products in new construction. Smart door locks is an option, right? Typically, when a door is installed, the trim carpenter places a traditional lock, not a smart lock, and then the builder sells an upgrade of a smart lock to a customer, so he has to comb through the noise in the market, find a door lock that matches their requirements, possibly find and hire a third-party integrator to ensure compatibility, perform the installation, and complete the setup for the homeowner. The process has two significant downsides. First, the original door lock has to be taken out of the door, and now you have a paperweight, which to me doesn't sound like a great use of time and materials. And second, there is an increase in cost and complexity since a new product is being procured, installed, configured, and handed over to the home buyer. This example illustrates how the retrofit nature of smart home products can drive up costs and introduce unnecessary technological installation challenges that builder personnel, frankly, don't have the time to manage. And if you look at other smart home products, you'll notice the same thing. Retrofit, options, extra effort.
A lot of that, though, is because the market for retrofit is just larger.
Absolutely.
Right? You look at there are 100 million homes in the United States, right?
Yep.
So when you're a manufacturer and you're kind of come up with a smart door lock, you go, oh my God, I got 100 million front door locks. So this is a huge market.
Yep.
Versus 800,000 homes that might be built in a given year,
Yep.
right? That's a much smaller market, even if you had 100% penetration. And we've talked about this in this sector for years now.
Yeah.
We're having to accommodate the retrofit products into a new build world.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike Deako, I'd actually have to say that Deako really looks like a builder product rather than a retrofit product, right? You know, it's kind of designed with as a builder in mind. So it's that whole issue of, can we find products that were really designed for the new home build rather than adopting a bunch of retrofit products into the new home space.
And what, sorry to interject, but what you find is, and especially with builders, we'll just let them go to Home Depot or Amazon and do that afterwards. But then you're missing out on the revenue, and you're not doing something purpose. They're just going and finding whatever.
And you miss that expectation that you're supposed to be building a new home.
They say they don't want it, but yet they're going after you selling your house and buying it and putting it in their house.
Consumer credit.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And we see that all the way through. And to speak to Nathan's point, it's we're selling and installing these wired aftermarket products, and we don't know what the customer is actually going to do with it. We don't know how this is actually going to play out in the home. So it's safe to say, now I'm going to sound a little on the downside of home automation, because this is what we get to hear all the time. And I want you to know we're really listening. It's safe to say that the retrofit nature of smart home products brings little or no value to the home builder, right? In fact, it doesn't shorten build cycle. It actually extends it by requiring accommodations for new product installations. There are no sustainability benefits either, because it increases embodied carbon because you're taking out old stuff and putting in new stuff afterwards. It doesn't reduce rework or warranty costs. If anything, it adds to the support and warranty responsibilities. And finally, there's no savings on smart upgrades, since the builder or homeowner ends up picking up the tab for it. So in my aha moment with Reza, I thought, what would happen if we started to look at the build cycle as a whole rather than just the homeowner at the end? If the retrofit nature of smart home products is as problematic as he claimed, then what would a builder-first solution actually look like? What would it offer the home builder, their contractors, and ultimately the home buyer? These are the questions that Levven set out with our builder partners alongside to answer. I'm glad to say that we came up with a solution we call Switched Right, which provides value from end to end, from planning and construction through to the future retirement and demolition of the home. With our builder partners, we looked at home construction and figured that to achieve good adoption with builders, we would need to simplify or speed up construction, decrease or eliminate quality deficiencies and rework, save materials and energy, and do it without driving up the cost of the home. We came up with a concept of separating the switch into its two operating components, the rocker that you interact with every day, and the contacts portion that switches the power on and off. And that was the birth of Levven Electrical Controls. Switches send on, off, and dim commands using radio frequency, much like your car's key fob to open, unlock your car and not unlock your neighbor's car, right? At rough, junction boxes and wire go into the ceiling just like they do today. At trim, the Levven power controller connects to the load and goes into the box. and wireless switches are mounted on the wall wherever you need them to go. No switch boxes in the wall, no wired switch legs, no holes drilled through hundreds of studs and wire ran to switches. Switched right is part of a construction process. It's not an afterthought. Every product process is optimized for the builder and their electrical contractor. A typical switched right installation looks like the electrical contractor placing an order for a quick kit around the time that the rough-in is done. A pre-configured kit arrives with all the single pole, 3-way, 4-way switches that the electrical plan requires weeks in advance of the construction of the trim final. And so they have all the materials they need to do the installation. The installer wires the power controllers with the loads and mounts the wire-free switches on the wall. They can mount a 4-gang switch in less than 60 seconds. And since everything is already configured, the builder simply shares a quick start guide with the homeowner, and with a quick scan of a QR code, the homeowner is connected to all the switches in their home. So what value does this builder-first approach yield? Builders recover build cycle days at electrical rough-in, and given the cost of borrowing these days, every day you can save goes to the bottom line. And because we've transformed switching, we conserve roughly 30% of the electrical wire, 100% of the switch boxes, and all the other related material to that.
So John, what's 30% of electrical wire these days? My God, the cost of copper cabling is just nuts.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, in the average home, we save approximately 100 pounds of embodied carbon. And because we've done away with the switches, all that rework and warranty issues related to switch boxes is eliminated too. Guy puts in an extra stud because you decided to hang a heavier door. That switch box normally wouldn't fit. Doesn't matter. Customer decides they want a pocket door. Doesn't matter. We can mount the switch on ingress or egress exactly where they'd expect it to be. And finally, all the switches come with smart mobile device access, energy-saving features so that the homeowner can start saving on their utility bills right from day one. So let me leave you with one last example of a builder-first thinking. Now, this isn't a smart home, but this is a product I've come across in the building industry that to me truly is a builder-first in design. RIA's air distribution system cuts down on installation complexity and boosts HVAC performance, which means faster installations and fewer callbacks. This is exactly what I think builders are looking for: less time on site, fewer issues to manage later on. And just like RIA, Levven comes with, the builder gets all the value. They get faster builders or cycle times, sustainability, rework savings, and a whole home smart lighting system at virtually the same costs as traditionally wired switches. So to me, this is what true value that innovation can bring to home builders.
So let me make sure I've got it right. So you're saying the trade-off in fewer boxes, less copper cable, fewer hours of electrician time, that then pays for all of the home automation. So the net is the total cost is roughly the same. But I get home automation out of your system.
That's right. Every switch is addressable. Every switch has timers built in. You can program time of day. You can program.
Then as a bit of a nerd, I need to ask a couple questions. So your switches, are they piezoelectric or battery operated?
They're battery operated.
Battery operated with a
7 to 10 years
battery,
of a little CR
coin battery,
32.
This battery, and then the controller that reads it is found where in the end.
Actually goes in the junction box above the light
of the end fixture, wherever that is.
Yeah. The idea was really simple in manufacturing. We're always looking at how do we reduce waste by moving the work that's being done as close to the next amount of work that needs to get done.
Right.
Same concept. In homes, we put this massive layer of wiring in the homes, which creates a lot of material and waste that actually doesn't serve additional purpose today. It's only for the purpose of controlling, turning the lights on and turning the lights off. And so our thought process was we'd use that RF instead, which is extremely reliable, and eliminate all that waste.
So when we ran Envision, which was kind of the industry standard platform for picking options and configurations and changes and all this, one of the issues that comes up in it is switch placement and plug placement. And as soon as you allow consumers to decide where they go, man, they have ideas about where switches go. I mean, it's really crazy, right? You think, oh no, they all go in the same place, everybody's going. No, they got crazy ideas where they want switches and stuff. But traditionally, that caused all kinds of operational problems. I mean, so builders would really shy away from that. We can't do switch, because it will change how much copper you use, it will change the cost of the home. You'll have all kinds of, installation problems. It seems with your product, you could actually free that up and say, look, you have the freedom to choose.
Yeah.
You can choose whether you have 2 ways, 3 ways. You can choose where they go, how many they are.
You don't like it when you're there, you can move it somewhere else.
It's super flexible. You want to buy another switch later, pair it into your system, and mount it into a new location. It takes you minutes.
All right, Greg. Now, we know you're building entry-level homes. You got tough competition in the marketplace, right? You can't put a lot of extra money in, right? Because you're not going to be able to compete in the marketplace. What do you think about something like this where you could have a net zero trade-off in cost?
No, this idea is fantastic. Like cutting costs out of your home, no wiring. It's being a new product. Like you referenced RIA, and that there's a lot of people that have really shifted over to that product. It's saving time, it's saving money, it's easy. And this is one of those ideas. I feel like the electrical world's a little more complicated. This is something that's really unheard of. Really, it's groundbreaking. And the thought of not having wires that we're used to in the wall, almost I hesitate, just listening to that and like, is this real? Can I really do this? Am I going to be running wires later in the house? Or is my buyer going to do that? But it seems like a fantastic, innovative thing that we need to adopt,
John?
Well, he was talking about running, one of the questions, of course you got questions, and what happens if the homeowner resells the house and the new person comes along? Well, Levven came out or did a training with the new homeowner. Well, actually, our VP of Ops, we did it in his house, and he actually has since left us, and he sold that house, panicking. Okay, they trained it, showed him how to run that. It doesn't take very long. It's very simple and easy to adopt. So
seems like you could do it in a video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, believe me, I get it. Everyone is nervous about taking the wire out of the walls. You've been wiring switches the same way for over 100 years. So I understand the trepidation around that. But we never used to unlock cars with radio frequency either. And the internet used to run millions of miles of wire throughout the world to deliver internet. And Elon Musk has eliminated that with Starlink. And it's becoming the fastest subscribed system in the world for the internet. And that's where wireless is going. It's just making.
And how do we get into our garages every day? We don't have to lift them up anymore,
Yeah, I mean, it must have been 15 years ago, actually. I worked with a company, they had piezoelectric switches.
Yeah.
And it was not focused on residential at all, it was focused on commercial.
Yeah.
Because, when you build large commercial skyscrapers, you're basically building a cement skeleton. And then you finish out all the interior space. And that finish out of the interior space is highly customizable. They didn't want to run miles and miles of wire through it because it also gets torn up all the time. When new tenants come in, they want to change everything around. So the idea of using piezoelectric switches and being able to literally place them anywhere, move them at any time. When you do decommissioning, you just take the switch off the wall. There's no wire behind the wall, so you don't have all that waste that you're throwing away. That was really a big kind of innovation in that space at the time?
Yeah, I should say we've been at it for 10 years now. We developed our first wireless switch a decade ago. So we've spent an awful lot of time perfecting the system, because to make one or two switches connect together wirelessly, that's pretty easy. There's lots of companies out there to do that. To have 60 or 70 devices in your home, all connected wirelessly, that's where our magic sort of happens.
So how many homes are you in? Like, would you say what's your kind of installed base?
Our install base, well, we're not Deako, that's for sure.
The two of you need to team up.
Our install base probably now is around 5,000 homes. And understand, code just cleared in the US in 2020, allowing wire-free wall-mounted controls. And most states hadn't even adopted until 2022, 2023.
So in 5,000 customer experiences, so what surprised you about the customer experience and customer reaction to the product, or how they use it, or what they do with it? What's kind of surprised you?
Yeah.
You came at this at a very businessman. We're doing this for the builder. We're going to make sure but in the end, it's a consumer product, right?
Yeah.
So what surprised you about consumers?
So I'd say there's probably two things that surprised me the most. One was, to your comment earlier, just how many people would go on. We have Amazon stores, because we're a small company. We have 45 people on our team. So we have Amazon stores, and people buy switches just to add switches to the system they already have in their home, because it's so easy for them to do on their own.
So that's an interesting question. If I have a single pole light configured, and I bought it from Ideal Homes, I got a single pole light, and he loves it because it's zero cost. But suddenly I go, I want to make that a 3-way light.
Yep.
Do I have to change the receiver?
Nope.
You just
switch. Buy the new switch. You go into your app. You group that switch in, pair it up to that load controller. You're done. It's
that's
working immediately.
I know it doesn't look like that, but that's his happy face.
Yeah, so that was probably one of the things that really kind of surprised me, how many additional switches people would add, because they'd go, oh, I wish I had one here, I wish I had one there, because it's so easy. The second thing is...
Let's pause, and we'll go to the second. The interesting part of that, though, is that you've then tapped into something that we didn't realize delighted consumers.
Yeah.
The idea of freedom and choice and expandability and expansion of the system on their own terms.
Yeah.
That's something we can sell to. Yeah. And that's the reason why the used home or your competitor down the street doesn't have that, and yet we have that in our home.
Yeah.
And it's how we tell that story about how we're building the home of the future. And in this extendable home of the future that's better to live in and easier to live in, it's important to tap into those stories when we sell new homes.
Yeah.
We're not selling a commodity. We don't sell homes by the pound, right? We're selling a design solution, and they're trusting us that we know the right technologies and the right features to put in these homes for them to live in it for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think we got to get better at telling those stories.
Yeah, I agree.
Your second issue?
The second thing was, so I grew up in a single parent family. I was poor. Like I said, the idea of whole home automation just never really seemed possible to me. So when customers first see this, when they first have this access, they just cannot believe that they can actually touch and interact with everything right from their mobile device. And of course we have Google and Alexa integration. So they all of a sudden go from using switches to saying, hey, Amazon, or hey, Alexa, turn off the kitchen lights, and everything goes off. And they're amazed, because in entry level and production built homes, that's just not been possible before. So
I got a question for both of you now that you bring that up. Both of you have apps, right? And that's great, but we get app fatigued. What percentage of your customers actually use third-party stuff, whether it's Samsung automation or Google or Alexa? What percentage of your customers really end up using a third party to control all of that?
Well, for us, because they have whole home control, we're finding that quite a few of them are integrating with Google or Alexa, more than 50%, just so they can have voice control, because it is so convenient for them.
And that's not something you're going to develop or you're going to develop. We got to spend our money where where we can make a difference, and we're not going to beat them in voice control or AI or any of that.
And you're going to see, I'm sure Deako's working on it as well. You're going to see Matter compatibility start pushing out more and more smart home products.
So why don't you tell the audience what Matter is in case they don't?
So Matter is a protocol that the industry is adopting, and the three biggest players in the industry, Apple, Amazon, and Google, have all agreed on this protocol. So it will roll out in most smart home products, allowing greater interoperability so that your door lock can just connect up with your Levven smart home system or your Deako system.
And that's been a problem with smart.
Oh, it's terrible.
You know,
Yeah, it's all
nobody,
ecosystem locked.
it's all, they're all locked out of each other. And,
Yep, they're all walled fortresses.
you know, oh, this person likes Google or this person likes Apple, and you know, they're trying to find one that's agnostic that they can all, you know, that all your customers are going to like. You know, that's what's so great about Matter coming. It's all everybody's. You know.
Yeah.
We've seen a similar adoption of third-party platforms. Some of it's our go-to-market. You know, we partner with builders who've already chosen an automation platform like
Control4
or Control4. So some of that's kind of a choice made for the consumer. Independently, we see a lot of consumers gravitate mostly to Alexa, the ratio of Alexa to Google.
Because they have devices.
Yeah, exactly. One of the trends we see is like every 5 to 7 years, the industry kind of reinvents itself as far as the protocol goes. You know, X10 to Z-Wave, Z-Wave to Zigbee, Zigbee to
They all work
Bluetooth.
perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. They're all, So the one of the important things that we observed at Deako is that, like there's this constant refresh of RF standards. You're like, you know, if Matter's going to come, Matter's going to mature, Matter's going to become that, but then something else is going to happen. Perhaps the bandwidth limitations or the total device count or some constraint will happen, and the next gen thing is going to come to market. And to me, it's critical to be able to bifurcate your infrastructure so that you have things that don't care about the high velocity of change like RF standards, and then you have things that can adapt to that. And that's really the job of the Deako backplate, is to be a connector, just like a receptacle on the wall. And then as time goes on, you know, those standards
Adopt a new standard. And not go obsolete. I think that's the fear of everything go obsolete. The other challenge we have is compatibility between life cycles of products. And my favorite example of this is smart refrigerators. You expect your refrigerator to last 30 years, and we put an electronic panel in it that has a life of, 3 at best, right? You know, and you're sitting there going, okay, that's just a really bad combination. And the auto industry recognized that really early.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They're the same problem in the hot.
No, because the auto industry, at the very beginning, they integrated all that electronics into the car and then realized, wait a minute, the car's got to last a decade or longer, and this electronics and the protocols are all changing. So that's when they all go, no, we're going to just integrate with Bluetooth to whatever those standards are so that the car can basically change with the technology.
I will say, though, technology is moving at an exponential curve, and we are well past the inflection point of that exponential growth curve in the advancement of technology. So what you saw in the past may not be what you will see in the future because we have advanced so much. Things that were not possible, were not reliable before, today are actually reliable. Security protocols today are far superior than what they were before. The chip that goes into each little device is 10 times smarter than, or 1,000 times smarter than X10 days, right? So we really have come to a point where a lot of convergence has happened that has actually made technology quite reliable and sustainable. So I wouldn't hold off expecting that it's going to just change dramatically in the next 7 years. It will, but it will still be connected. It'll still be able to go back and be, usable, compatible, because the basic devices that go in, like a switching device, it's not a complicated device in itself. The protocols might change, and the amount of data isn't going to really change. So I don't see massive changes in the individual devices. I see significant changes in the platforms that operate them.
Let's open it up to the audience. You guys have been listening out there patiently. What kind of questions do you have for our panel up here? Let's try to, how about that table way over there? You thought you were out of our venue. What kind of question do you have for any of our panelists up here? First of all, how many of you over there, any of you offer lighting control systems in your home? Okay. All right, how about this table here?
Yeah, the question was how many switches. So by switches, I'll say load controllers that actually turn the lights on and off can be run by a single transmitter. And the answer is you can run the entire house off one single transmitter. So you could have a master switch. It takes literally as fast as you can click the buttons on your phone to pair it up to all the load controllers in the house. Yes, load controllers have to be installed in some junction box. That's an electrical requirement.
But you would only need one junction box, like if you're doing a whole room of can lights, it just has to be the first one, so, yeah.
Another good question. Man, you guys are paying attention. I thought you were just eating breakfast out there.
In fact, Leviton and Lutron both have commercial application wireless devices available. So they use two-component switching. They just haven't figured out how to drive the cost out of it to the point that it's actually accessible to residential new construction.
On that point, you see a day where everybody's going to have a wireless switch and there will even be a standard?
Yeah, I do. Because to me, I look at the waste that can be brought out of the construction process and the speed that that can provide and the value, that flexibility and value. I just don't see how in the long term it's not going to become a standard.
And you guys are ready for that anytime. You say, bring it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important is like we look at the transition of the infrastructure too, is like it's archaic infrastructure right now for lighting control. I think wireless is absolutely part of innovation. I think we'll see DC start to really take over. So
that's my next question. What happens if a builder wants to do DC? Do you guys work in DC or are you exclusively AC?
Today we're AC.
Yeah,
any plans for DC?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to give the exact same answer. Like right now, we focus. Where the market
is. He giving you a hot tub after this or something? Come on.
To be fair, I'm not in the hot tub business anymore.
But we can still have a hot tub giveaway. If you could give us a hot tub, I know. What are you saying? We could vote on. But should he give us a hot tub? I think he should give us a hot tub.
Yes.
Yeah, but I absolutely think that the market's going to go that way. It might take 10 to 15 years, but it'll go that way.
We got a question, I think, way over there. Great idea. I'm going to repeat the question just because the mics don't pick it up. So the question is if we go with a Deako system or a Levven system, we have this really cool new lighting control systems, electrical systems in our house. Where would a consumer go to go buy all of these switches? They go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware. Where do they get this stuff? So you guys are probably going to have to answer separately. And if you answer together, you give us a hot tub. Okay? Who votes for that? Look, I have so many friends out here, and we love your hot tubs. I don't even know what brand it is, but we love them, guaranteed.
Right now, consumers can go to Amazon, they can go to Deako.com to be able to buy those switches themselves. We also partner with builders. Some builders have chosen to put platforms online that they could buy them through their own portals. The brick and mortar space, that's something that we keep an eye on, but that's right now, I think consumers and the Amazonification of the world have figured it out that they can get a switch the next day and plug it in themselves.
Yeah, so when we first came out, we were in many of the brick and mortars. We were in Lowe's, we were in Rona in Canada, BMR, Home Hardware. We're Canadian based, so Lowe's was our only US retailer. We found that they weren't really very good at actually distributing small run products like ours that didn't have lots of brand name acceptance. So we set up Amazon stores so they can go right to Amazon and they can get it overnight anywhere in the country. So
I think that was the same answer, don't you? And I think we could have hot tub. Okay, let's vote on that. Was that close enough to the same answer that he's given us a hot tub?
I think we got set up.
All right, any more questions from the audience? Well, I want to thank you on behalf of the whole panel up here for being such great students this morning, paying attention, being actively engaged, asking great questions. But I'd also like to thank all the panelists. They come here, give their time, give their expertise to us, help share, help us make us better builders. So if we could give them a small round of applause this morning, it's a privilege. Thank you, gentlemen, very much.